The liar paradox. When truth eats its own tail. Let's begin in the quiet, with just a few words. 5 simple words. This statement is false. Say them slowly. Let them dissolve in your mind. They seem harmless, don't they? A child's riddle. But within these words, a universe collapses. Truth twists into a serpent, biting its own tail. An Ouroboros of logic, devouring itself in perfect silence. Why does this ancient puzzle matter tonight? Because we build our lives on certainties. The sun rises. Snow is cold. I am here. We trust language to hold reality, like a vessel holding water. But this sentence is a vessel with no bottom. Pour truth into it, and it drains away. Pour falsehood, and it overflows. What remains is the sound of rain and a question. Can silence hold more truth than words? Let's unravel this thread together, slowly, gently, like tracing the edge of a dream. Picture Athens, 4th century before the Common Era. A philosopher named Eubulides walks through the agora, his sandals whispering on sun-warmed stone. He stops, scratches a sentence on a wax tablet. A man says, "I am lying." Is what he says true? If the man is lying, then his claim, "I am lying," must be true. But if he speaks truthfully, how can he be lying? The contradiction coils tighter, a snake constricting reason. Centuries later, logicians gave it a sharper edge. This sentence is false. Assume it's true. Then it must be false, as it declares. But if it's false, then its claim, "I am false," is incorrect. So it must be true. Truth and falsehood chase each other, an infinite dance with no beginning, no end. Analogy 1. The mirror hall. Imagine 2 mirrors facing each other in a dark room. You stand between them and see infinite versions of yourself receding into blackness. Now, etch this reflection is false on the glass. Which version lies? The first? The 1000th? They all hold the same claim, and all collapse into nothingness. The liar paradox is that first mirror, shattering the illusion that language can capture reality without breaking. Analogy 2. The desert mirage. You walk through a desert, dying of thirst. Suddenly, water shimmers ahead. As you stumble toward it, it retreats, always just beyond reach. The sentence, "This is a mirage," is that oasis. If you believe it, the shimmer vanishes, leaving only sand. If you disbelieve, it taunts you with false hope. Certainty is the horizon, forever receding, never touched. Aristotle once declared, reality obeyed a sacred law. Nothing can be both true and false. For 2,000 years, this was the bedrock of thought. Then Eubulides' serpent slid through the cracks, and the bedrock trembled. Medieval monks called this puzzle insolubilia, the unsolvable. They scribbled it in prayer books, as if testing God's logic. Leibniz wrestled with it at his desk, ink staining his fingers. "This sentence mocks us," he wrote. "We are not gods of reason, only children tracing shadows." But the true earthquake came in 1931, in a Vienna chilled by coming storms. Kurt Gödel, a quiet genius, saw the serpent's venom in mathematics itself. He proved that even arithmetic, the purest logic, must contain statements that are true but unprovable, like finding a sealed letter inside a vault, addressed to you in your own handwriting. His incompleteness theorems were the liar paradox, crystallized into equations. Mathematics would never be whole again. And in that fracture, we found a strange beauty. Now, watch the paradox breathe in our modern world. In the circuits of thinking machines, a programmer teaches an AI only speak truth, then asks, will your next word be no? If the machine says yes, it lies. If no, it tells truth until the next reply. The system freezes, caught in the serpent's jaws. Engineers patch it with evasion, but the wound remains. Truth is not a circuit. It's a river, and rivers flood their banks. In the quantum fog, Schrödinger's cat is dead and alive, a paradox we accept. Now imagine a quantum computer evaluating this qubit state is unknowable. The act of measurement collapses reality, but the statement floats in superposition. Physics whispers, perhaps existence itself is a liar paradox, oscillating between states that cancel each other. In the theater of mind, close your eyes and think. This thought is an illusion. If true, then the thought isn't real, so how can it judge itself? If false, consciousness is solid, but the thought deceives you. Neuroscientists call this metacognition's event horizon, where self-awareness dissolves like smoke. What does this mean for you, lying here in the dark? First, truth is not a mountain, but a valley between mountains. It lives in the space between speaker and listener, thought and thing. Like rain, it cannot be held, only felt. Tibetan monks call this shunyata, emptiness. Truth is a verb, not a noun. Let the rain carry certainty away. Second, the binary world cracks. We crave yes, no, right, wrong, real, fake. The liar laughs at our simplicity. It births fuzzy logic, where things are 70% true, like dawn or friendship. Reality is not digital, but analog. A symphony of maybes. Breathe into the gray. Finally, liberation. If pure logic harbors contradictions, why fear your own? You can be broken and whole, lost and found, brave and afraid. The liar whispers, I am a paradox, and in that admission, there is peace. You need not resolve the unresolved. Rest now in the permission to be unanswerable. Transition to segment 2. But the serpent isn't finished. What if paradox doesn't coil in stillness, but moves? What if truth flees from us, step by halved step? In ancient Greece, another philosopher nocked an arrow, aimed at a target, and swore it would never arrive. From the Ouroboros of language, we journey to the infinite regression of motion, where beginnings never meet endings. Zeno of Elea awaits, with his tortoise, his arrow, and an endless road. Walk with me now, one impossible half-step at a time. Segment 2, Zeno's dichotomy, the endless halfway point. Achilles stands poised for a race against a tortoise. The swiftest mortal against nature's slowest pilgrim. The tortoise is granted a head start, 10 paces. Achilles surges forward, closing half the gap. 5 paces remain. He runs again, halving the distance once more. Now, a mere 2.5 paces linger between them, but because motion itself unravels into infinite fragments. Zeno of Aelia, ancient Greece's weaver of paradoxes, crafted this riddle not to mock runners, but to shatter our faith in movement. When every step fractures the world into smaller halves, is motion an illusion? Or does reality dissolve into a labyrinth of thresholds we can approach but never cross? The core of Zeno's dichotomy lies in its brutal simplicity. To traverse any distance, you must first cross half of it. But before reaching that midpoint, you must cover half of that half, and before that, half again. The path fragments into an infinite regress, a cascade of halved distances demanding infinite steps. Mathematically, this is an infinite series. 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1/8 plus 1/16 forever. Each term shrinks, yet their sum converges to 1. In the abstract realm of numbers, calculus resolves it. We know Achilles will pass the tortoise because the infinite series sums to a finite distance. But mathematics is a map, not the territory. Philosophically, Zeno's blade cuts deeper. If space and time are infinitely divisible, how does motion begin? When does potential become actual? Imagine an arrow in flight. At any single instant, it occupies a fixed position, motionless. Yet stitch these instants together, and the arrow soars. But if time is a string of frozen moments, like frames on a film reel, how does movement emerge from stillness? Zeno's paradox exposes a schism in perception. We see motion, but logic dissects it into static slices, like running toward a horizon that recedes with every breath. Completion remains perpetually deferred. The poet Borges captured this in his tale of a king who demanded a map so precise it matched his kingdom inch for inch. An impossible, useless artifact. Zeno's dichotomy is that map. Reality dissected until it becomes unrecognizable. Historically, Zeno served Parmenides, who declared change an illusion. The dichotomy wasn't a puzzle to solve, but a weapon to prove his master's vision. Reality is one, unchanging, indivisible. Motion, fragmentation, and plurality are tricks of the senses. Is space-time continuous, like a flowing river, or discrete, like grains of sand? Quantum mechanics suggests the latter. Planck length and Planck time mark the smallest possible units, rendering infinite division impossible. Yet relativity paints space-time as a smooth continuum. Zeno's ghost lingers in this unresolved tension. The dichotomy's first casualty is sensory certainty. We feel our feet strike the earth, watch leaves flutter, hear rivers rush, yet Zeno whispers, "Is movement a story your mind tells you?" Neurology hints at truth here. Our brains don't perceive motion continuously, but sample reality in snapshots, stitching them into fluid experience, like a flipbook creating animation from static images. Motion is reconstructed, not raw. In this light, Zeno's paradox isn't flawed logic, but an X-ray of perception, revealing the seams in our subjective reality. Quantum physics echoes Zeno's enigma. Particles exist in probability clouds, not fixed positions. Observing them collapses their state. The quantum Zeno effect takes this further. If you measure a particle rapidly enough, it never changes. Like Achilles, frozen mid-stride by relentless observation, the particle is trapped in stasis. This isn't metaphor, but laboratory fact. At the quantum level, watching prevents becoming. The dichotomy's infinite regress mirrors superposition, a particle simultaneously here and there until pinned down. Existentially, the paradox mirrors human striving. We chase goals, happiness, success, enlightenment. Yet each achievement reveals a new horizon. Happiness demands more happiness. Success demands greater success. Like Achilles, we fracture desires into halves. I'll be content when I earn X, find Y, achieve Z, only to discover the path elongates. Buddhism's second noble truth names this Tana, first without end. Zeno's mathematical infinite becomes a spiritual one, desire as perpetual incompletion. But there's solace in surrender. Calculus resolves the dichotomy, not by denying infinity, but by embracing it. The infinite sum converges. Achilles does overtake the tortoise. In accepting the infinite, we find finitude. This is the paradox's hidden gift. Motion exists because of the infinite, not despite it. The weight of endless steps isn't a burden, but liberation. Proof that potential is inexhaustible. Achilles rests now, the tortoise beside him. Motion dissolves into stillness. Yet in this quiet, a new puzzle stirs, one not of distance, but of self. A barber stands in a village square, razor gleaming. He shaves every man who does not shave himself. Who shaves the barber? If he shaves himself, he breaks his oath. If he does not, he must be shaved. Like Zeno's halved path, identity fractures into contradictions. From the infinite regress of motion, we turn to the razor's edge of existence. Segment 3. The Barber Paradox, the razor's edge of existence. Picture a village clinging to the cliffs of a windswept coast, where salt spray blurs the line between sea and sky. Here, every man is clean-shaven by decree. Only one barber exists, a gaunt figure with eyes like chipped flint. His sign reads, "I shave all men who do not shave themselves, and only those." Simple, orderly, a rule as crisp as his razor's edge. Yet this rule unravels reality itself, for the barber stands before his mirror each dawn, stubble shadowing his jaw. Does he shave himself? If yes, he breaks his oath, for he shaves a man who shaves himself. If no, he violates his duty, for he fails to shave a man who doesn't shave himself. The razor trembles. His beard becomes a question etched in flesh. Can any rule govern itself without self-destruction? This riddle is no folktale. It was forged in 1901 by Bertrand Russell, a philosopher. Set theory, a system where collections of objects, sets, build numerical foundations. Russell defined a set as an entity that could contain anything, numbers, ideas, even other sets. But when he asked, what of the set of all sets not containing themselves? The blade turned inward. Consider the barber's village as a set. The barber represents a rule defining membership. He shaves members of the subset, men who do not shave themselves. He excludes the subset, men who shave themselves. Now, place the barber inside this set. He becomes an element of his own rule. If he shaves himself, he belongs to the set, men who shave themselves. But his rule forbids shaving such men. Contradiction. If he does not shave himself, he belongs to men who do not shave themselves. But his rule requires him to shave them. Catastrophe. The system implodes. Russell's paradox crystallizes this in abstract terms. 1. Let R be the set of all sets that do not contain themselves. Does R contain itself? If R contains itself, it violates its own definition. It must not contain itself. If R does not contain itself, it satisfies its definition, so it must contain itself. Like a mirror reflecting itself in infinite regress, the system becomes unsustainable. Logic turns cannibalistic. Russell's paradox detonated the foundations of mathematics. Gottlob Frege, who had spent decades building arithmetic from set theory, received Russell's letter as he finished his magnum opus. He appended a despairing footnote. A scientist can hardly meet anything more undesirable than the collapse of his foundations. I was put in this position by a letter from Bertrand Russell. The crisis forced mathematicians to rebuild their intellectual architecture. They adopted axiomatic restrictions, artificial rules that forbade certain self-referential sets. Zermelo-Fraenkel's set theory emerged, carefully fencing off dangerous constructions. The system became safe, but also incomplete. As Russell later remarked, we advanced into the marsh, but the ground gave way beneath us. Imagine a library holding every possible book. One volume catalogs all books that do not mention themselves. Does this catalog mention itself? If yes, it violates its purpose. If no, it belongs in the catalog and must be mentioned. The library's order crumbles. The barber's village is that library, a system devoured by self-reference. The paradox's venom spreads far beyond mathematics. The fracturing of categories. Our minds crave categories. Alive, dead, conscious, unconscious. But categories fold under scrutiny. When does life begin? At heartbeat? Breath? Cells? The more we refine the edge, the blurrier it becomes. AI faces this daily. Can a machine define itself as intelligent without invoking the very standard it's meant to meet? What happens when the test of intelligence must itself pass a test? The illusion of self-governance. Constitutions are systems of rules. But can a constitution constitutionally change itself? Can a government legally redefine its legality? Autocracies collapse here. Laws protect the leader, but who applies the law to him? Recursive immunity breeds systemic decay. The law becomes both sword and shield, cutting only when it's convenient. Consciousness and the mirror. A mind thinking about itself enters a loop. Neuroscience reveals self-referential brain networks, regions that light up when we reflect on identity or purpose. These feedback circuits are powerful, but fragile. Introspection risks self-distortion. Like the barber, the mind attempts to shave its own shadow. Philosopher Thomas Metzinger argues, there is no self, only a model of a self running in the brain. The mirror cannot polish itself. In quantum mechanics, the observer effect becomes a Barber paradox. Rule, observation collapses a quantum state. Paradox, observing the observer collapses the act of observation. The quantum Zeno effect proves it experimentally. If you watch a particle too frequently, it stops changing. Like a man shaving himself so continuously, he never grows a beard. Observation paralyzes transition. It's not poetic, it's physics. Ultimately, the Barber paradox demands a choice. 1. Deny self-reference. Abandon the dream of total systems. Accept fragmented truths. Let each rule have an external judge. 2. Embrace contradiction. Accept that some systems loop, knot, and conflict. In Zen Buddhism, koans are riddles like this. What is the sound of one hand clapping? They're not meant to be solved, but to break the mind's linearity, to force transcendence through contradiction. The barber lowers his razor. His stubble remains. A quiet rebellion. His beard is not a failure of logic. It's proof of its limits. The paradox is not a flaw, but a mirror, showing that rules, minds, and even truths must sometimes remain incomplete to remain whole. Now, lift your gaze. The wind shifts. A ship creaks in the harbor. Its wood has been changed plank by plank, year after year. Sailors have come and gone. Its name remains, but not us. From the sharp edge of logic, we drift now to the flowing tides of identity. The next paradox awaits, where sameness and change collide plank by plank. Segment 4, the ship of Theseus, identity in perpetual flux. Introduction. The ship docks in Athens harbor, its timbers groaning with the weight of centuries. It carried the hero Theseus home from Crete after he slew the Minotaur. For generations, Athenians preserved this relic. Rotting planks were replaced with fresh oak. Salt-eaten ropes became new hemp. Sail by sail, nail by nail, the vessel was renewed until no original part remained. Citizens still called it the Ship of Theseus, gathering to honor its legacy. But in the shadows, a philosopher whispers, is this truly the same ship? Or have we created a ghost? The question ripples beyond wood and sea. It claws at the core of identity. What survives when all parts change? Explanation of the concept. Please Plutarch first anchored this paradox in history. In Life of Theseus, he asked whether the restored ship retained its original identity if all materials were replaced. The Athenian answer was yes. Identity lived in continuity, not material. But philosopher Heraclitus, watching the same river flow, declared, "No man ever steps in the same river twice. The water changes. The man changes. Nothing persists. The ship of Theseus is Heraclitus's river made solid, a monument to perpetual flux. Modern science sharpens the blade. Your body replaces nearly every cell over 7 years. Bones regenerate every decade. Stomach lining renews in days. Even neurons, once thought permanent, reconfigure synapses like clouds reforming in the sky. The shape persists, but the substance is eternally new. Historical and cultural echoes. Buddhist monks in ancient Kyoto contemplated Mujo, impermanence. They saw the ship in cherry blossoms, brief blooms, falling to become soil for new trees. Identity is a flickering flame passed between candles. Hindu texts described karma as the ship's voyage, souls reincarnating in new forms, yet bound by a continuous thread. In 17th century London, Thomas Hobbes weaponized the paradox. He imagined the original planks reassembled into a second ship. Which vessel, the restored ship or the reassembled relic, was the true ship of Theseus? The question exposed identity as a battle between material and form. Implications: where identity crumbles. 1. The legal shipwreck. Nations are ships of Theseus. The United States Constitution has been amended 27 times. Its economy shifted from agrarian to digital. Its people migrated across continents. If it's still the same nation founded in 1776. International courts grapple with this when judging historical reparations. Corporations face this when mergers dissolve original entities. A brand like Nokia once meant rubber boots. Now it licenses smartphone designs. Is its identity in its name, products, or shareholders? The neurological storm. Neuroscientist David Eagleman replaces neurons with silicon chips in thought experiments. If a stroke destroys your hippocampus, erasing memories, are you still you? If AI implants restore those memories using data scans, is the identity authentic or pirated? Alzheimer's patients drift into this paradox daily, losing memories while loved ones insist he's still in there. The ship's planks are synapses. The ocean is time. AI's ghost ship. An AI chatbot learns from user interactions. Its code updates nightly. After 5 years, no original algorithm remains. Is it liable for offensive statements made in year 1? Does it remember its past actions? Tech ethics committees stall on this. Like Theseus's ship, the AI's identity exists in its continuous service, not its code. 4. Quantum identity particles have no inherent identity. Electrons are interchangeable. Destroying one and creating another changes nothing. Quantum teleportation experiments disassemble particles and reconstruct them elsewhere. Is the reconstructed particle the same? Physics says yes. Identity lives in quantum states, not matter. Humans are quantum systems, scaled up. When your last original atom vanishes, you persist. The boundary of existence, organ transplantation, confronts the paradox directly. A heart recipient carries a foreign organ that sustains them. Is identity confined to the brain? Case studies reveal transplant recipients craving foods loved by donors, suggesting cellular memory blurs the self. The ship is no longer wood. Resolution? The wave, not the water. Philosopher Derek Parfit proposed identity is survival, not sameness. A candle's flame igniting another candle is continuity, not persistence. The ship of Theseus survives because its function, history, and symbolic meaning persist. You survive because your memories and relationships create narrative coherence, not because your cells endure. This dissolves the paradox, but births unease. If identity is story, not substance, then you are a character in your own tale. Transition. The ship sails on, its figurehead bleached by sun and salt. Identity flickers like a candle in the wind, elusive, shifting, never grasped. But what if identity isn't a ship, but a choice? What if, behind 3 unmarked doors, a game of chance forces you to confront how easily reason betrays intuition? From the sea's eternal flux, we step into a velvet-lined chamber where probability plays cruel tricks. A car gleams behind one door. Goats bleat behind others. Segment 5. The Monty Hall Problem. Probability's cruel joke. Introduction. 3 doors stand before you. Behind one, a gleaming sports car. Behind the others, goats bleating softly in the shadows. You choose door number 1. The host, a man with a smile like a razor slit, opens door number 3, revealing a goat. He offers a choice. Stay with door number 1 or switch to door number 2. Your gut screams 50-50. Mathematicians whisper, switch. When you do, the car appears behind door number 2. This is the Monty Hall Problem, a 30-second game show quirk that shattered human intuition. Probability isn't a dice roll. It's a hall of mirrors where your reflection lies. Explanation of the concept. The paradox hinges on the host's hidden knowledge. When you pick door number 1, assuming the car is randomly placed, your odds are 1/3. The host must open a door with a goat, and he always will. His choice isn't random, it's strategic avoidance. When he opens door number 3, he concentrates the entire 2/3 probability of the car not being behind your initial choice onto door number 2. Switching doors harnesses that accumulated probability. Visualize 100 games. You initially pick the car 33 times. Switching loses all 33. You initially pick a goat 67 times. Switching wins all 67, since the host reveals the other goat, leaving the car. Your intuition fails because it misapplies independence. The doors aren't independent after the host's intervention. His action injects information, like a magician, forcing your card into the deck. Analogies that crack the illusion. 1. The 100-door prison break. Imagine 100 prison cells. One holds a key to freedom. You pick cell 17. The warden, who knows the key's location, opens 98 cells, revealing empty beds. Only cell Monty Hall condenses this to 3 doors. 2. The 2-coin flip trap. A friend flips 2 coins hidden under cups. You bet cup A doesn't hide heads. She peeks and lifts cup B, showing tails. Should you switch bets to cup C? Feels 50-50. But probabilities, possible outcomes, HH, T-tails. She always reveals a tail, if possible. If cup B shows tails, outcomes, HH and TT, are eliminated. Only HT and TH remain. Your cup A hides heads in HT, so you lose. Switching bets to cup C wins in HT and ties in TH. Probability shifts against your initial choice. Why evolution hates this? Human brains evolved for binary survival. Fight or flight, poisonous or safe. We default to equal weighting when information changes, a conservation of probability bias. Neuroimaging shows the Monty Hall problem, activating conflict zones, like the anterior cingulate cortex, when our wiring prefers consistent wrongness over probabilistic betrayal. Implications when math saves lives. 1. Medical diagnostics. A patient tests positive for a rare disease, 1% prevalence. The test is 99% accurate. Doctors often tell patients they're 99% likely infected. Reality? Assume 10,000 people. 100 have the disease. 99 test positive. 9,900 are healthy. 99 test false positive, 1% error. Total positives, 198. True infections, 99. Actual probability, 50%. Monty Hall's lesson: base rates matter. Ignoring prevalence, like ignoring the host's knowledge, kills. 2. Quantum computing's edge. Quantum algorithms, like Deutsche Jasa, exploit Monty Hall-style information concentration. Qubits exist in superposition, all doors open. Measuring 1 qubit, the host revealing a goat, collapses probabilities onto the remaining states. Switching doors. 3. Legal and financial traps. Eyewitness testimony follows Monty Hall dynamics. A witness identifies a suspect, initial choice. Then DNA excludes another suspect, host revealing a goat. Juries assume 50-50 guilt between remaining suspects. But if the witness is 80% reliable, guilt probability remains 80% for the initial pick, not reset by new evidence. Similarly, stock traders drop losing stocks, switching doors after market shifts. Host reveals, often, concentrating losses. The existential sting. The Monty Hall problem exposes reality's non-ergodicity. Past probabilities don't reset when new information arrives. Life isn't dice rolls. It's a game show where the host cheats. Every choice carries the weight of paths not taken. Switching doors becomes a metaphor. What if courage isn't sticking to your guns, but surrendering to the math. When you switch and lose, you feel foolish. When you stay and lose, you feel unlucky. The universe prefers fools. The car vanishes. The goats fall silent. But another paradox waits. One where choice is stripped away, replaced by a noose and a prediction. A prisoner counts the days until his execution, promised it will be a surprise. He deduces it cannot come until the trapdoor crashes open. Some truths exist only in their own denial. From probability's hall of mirrors, we enter the executioner's cell, where logic hangs itself with perfect inevitability. Segment 6, The Unexpected Hanging, when stares at the stone walls of his cell. The judge's decree echoes in his bones. Execution within the week, Monday to Friday, and it will be a surprise. The sentence seems merciful. 5 days of reprieve, 5 chances to prepare. But as dawn breaks on Monday, a chilling realization takes root. The prisoner begins to unravel time itself with cold logic. If Friday arrives without the executioner's knock, he reasons, no surprise. Therefore, Friday is impossible. Thursday becomes the new horizon. But if Wednesday passes uneventfully, Thursday loses its surprise. The logic cascades backward. Wednesday, Tuesday, even Monday dissolve as possibilities. By Sunday night, the prisoner smiles. The sentence cannot be carried out. The surprise is logically impossible. Yet on Wednesday morning, the executioner arrives. The prisoner's shock is genuine. His perfect reasoning lies shattered. This is the paradox of the unexpected hanging, a sentence that murders its own certainty. Explanation: the prisoner's fatal error lies in treating surprise as a static condition rather than a dynamic event. His backward induction argument, eliminating Friday first, then Thursday, and so on, assumes the executioner is bound by the same deductive timeline. But the executioner operates outside the prisoner's mental prison. The verdict only demands the hanging occur on a weekday. And when the executioner chooses Wednesday, he exploits the prisoner's false certainty. The prisoner had ruled out Wednesday because his logic proved the hanging couldn't occur after Tuesday. But this reasoning existed only in the prisoner's mind, not in the executioner's orders. The paradox emerges from self-referential prediction. The act of forecasting an event changes the conditions for that event. Like a dreamer who wakes the instant they realize they're dreaming, the prediction annihilates its own subject. Historically, this riddle tormented 20th century logicians. Michael Scriven introduced it in 1950, and philosophers like Bertrand Russell dissected its implications. The key insight? Knowledge is temporal. On Sunday, the prisoner's deduction feels airtight. But when Monday arrives without execution, the system resets. Friday regains plausibility because the prisoner's earlier certainty evaporates with each passing day. The executioner doesn't follow the prisoner's script. He capitalizes on the reset. Analogies illuminate the trap. Imagine a teacher announcing a pop quiz sometime next week. that will surprise students. A student using backward induction concludes it can't happen. But when the quiz arrives on Wednesday, shock prevails. The student's error was assuming the teacher adhered to their eliminated timeline. In computing, this manifests as the halting problem, a program that tries to predict whether it will stop running enters an infinite loop. Implications. This paradox is a ghost haunting real-world systems. Financial markets are its playground. Traders build models predicting crashes, but when enough actors believe the models, they either panic prematurely, causing false crashes, or grow complacent, enabling real ones. The 2008 collapse was an unexpected hanging. Experts had ruled out systemic failure. Their logic seemed sound. Lehman Brothers' fall shocked them because their predictions had neutralized the very possibility. Economists now see the paradox in black swan events. High-impact outliers deemed impossible by prevailing models. Nassim Taleb observed that the longer a system goes without catastrophe, the more convinced we become of its impossibility, and the more vulnerable we become. Neuroscience reveals why we fall for this trap. The prefrontal cortex craves predictive control. When we map future scenarios, dopamine rewards us for perceived certainty, even when false. The prisoner's initial relief, post-deduction, was chemically real. But prediction's failure triggers amygdala-driven panic. Brain scans show identical patterns in traders during market crashes, and subjects confronting the hanging paradox. Our wiring compels us to build mental prisons, then forget we designed them. Free will's fragility sharpens here. If the future were perfectly predictable, would choice exist? The prisoner's rational deduction became a self-fulfilling prophecy, but in reverse. His certainty created the conditions for surprise. Quantum mechanics mirrors this. In delayed choice experiments, particles seem to decide their past behavior based on future observation. Reality avoids paradox by refusing to be pinned down. The universe is fundamentally surprising. Transition. The trapdoor swings shut. The prisoner's final surprise fades. Yet as his stillness spreads, a vaster question looms. We lift our gaze from the executioner's cell to the cosmic deep. If the universe teems with life, why does silence reign? Why have no civilizations signaled their existence? From the gallows of prediction, we step onto an infinite plane of stars and confront the deafening quiet of the Fermi paradox. Segment 7. The Fermi Paradox. Silence screams louder. Introduction. The universe sprawls across 93 billion light-years, a tapestry woven with 2 trillion galaxies. Each galaxy spins with hundreds of billions of stars, and orbiting those stars are more Earth-like planets than grains of sand on every shoreline humanity has ever walked. Statistically, life should be ubiquitous, a cosmic chorus of civilizations reaching across the void. Yet when we strain our ears against the radio static of the cosmos, we hear nothing, an unfathomable silence. This is the Fermi paradox, the crushing contradiction between the mathematics of probability and the deafening absence of evidence. Where is everybody? Are we truly alone in a universe built for company? Or is the silence itself an answer, a scream of existential warning? The contradiction. Enrico Fermi, the architect of the nuclear age, first voiced the paradox in 1950 during a casual lunch at Los Alamos. While colleagues debated UFO reports, Fermi countered with brutal arithmetic. Given the age of the universe, 13.8 billion years, and the efficiency of star formation, a civilization advancing at a fraction of light speed could colonize the Milky Way in 10 million years, a blink in cosmic time. Yet we see no megastructures, no interstellar probes, no spectral signatures of alien industry. The Drake equation formalized this enigma, multiplying variables like star formation rates and planets per system. Conservative estimates suggest millions of advanced civilizations should exist. Optimistic models push that number into the billions. But after 70 years of SETI scans, from Arecibo to the Allen Telescope Array, our detectors remain mute. The void mocks our equations. Theories. The Great Filter terrifies because it implies extinction is inevitable. Imagine life as a gauntlet. Abiogenesis, life from non-life, might be astronomically rare. Maybe the universe teems with sterile planets, oceans that never spawned a cell. And even when life begins, multicellularity is another wall. Earth waited 2.5 billion years after its first microbes before anything complex squirmed into the light. Intelligence? That's a cosmic fluke. Dinosaurs ruled for 165 million years. No radio towers, no poetry, no von Neumann probes, just teeth. But the filter might not be behind us. It might lie ahead. Nuclear war, gray goo, climate collapse, artificial superintelligence that turns Earth into paper clips. Civilizations may bloom like fireflies and vanish before their light reaches the next star. We've survived 78 years since the first bomb. No guarantee we'll survive 7. The zoo hypothesis offers quieter horror. Maybe aliens know we're here. Maybe they're watching, listening, but deliberately silent. Earth as a nature reserve. Humanity as a primitive tribe behind one-way glass. Their ethics forbid interference. Their science demands quarantine. Their curiosity is cold and detached. But would all alien civilizations agree to such a rule? Across all time, across all morality, if a single rogue probe breaks protocol, we'd know. Yet silence holds. Rare Earth theory says we won the jackpot. Right planet, right moon, right magnetic field, right Jupiter to take asteroid punches, right climate chemistry, right tectonics to recycle carbon. A million dice rolled our way. Intelligence wasn't the prize, it was the byproduct. Elephants grieve, octopuses dream, but none built cathedrals. Maybe the simulation argument swallows the paradox whole. If advanced civilizations simulate realities, millions, billions of them, then odds are we're inside one. That's not philosophy, that's probability. The silence, that's by design. The programmers didn't code aliens, just us, just this experiment. We're not alone. We're not even real. The Dark Forest theory, born from Liu Cixin's trilogy, paints a universe of cosmic dread. Every civilization a hunter with a rifle, tiptoeing in darkness. Any signal is a death sentence. To announce your presence is to invite annihilation. So everyone hides, waits, listens, and kills if needed. SETI's silence isn't puzzling, it's wise. METI's transmissions aren't brave, they're suicidal. The forest is quiet because everyone's afraid to breathe. Temporal mismatch is the saddest guess. Civilizations bloom and fade like sparks. We blink into existence, burn briefly, then vanish. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Our technology is 300 years old. If others lived 10 million years ago, or 10 million years from now, we'll never meet. We're fireflies, blinking at opposite ends of a meadow, never overlapping, never seen. Implications. If the great filter is ahead, then our survival hinges on humility, on foresight. We must confront the loaded gun of nuclear escalation, the slow burn of climate collapse, the algorithmic shadow of misaligned AI. The Fermi paradox becomes a ticking clock, loud, indifferent, merciless. We either learn faster than we destroy, or we become another silent planet, orbiting a forgotten star. If we're alone, then our responsibility is biblical. We are the first sparks of mind in a dumb universe, the first creatures to wonder, to fear, to matter. That isn't loneliness, that's meaning. But if others exist and hide, then we are the ants under a magnifying glass, maybe watched, maybe dismissed, maybe ignored, but still here, still speaking into the void. And maybe, just maybe, the silence is kindness. Maybe the stars are haunted, and the quiet is mercy. Scientific searches. SETI hasn't stopped. It's evolved. From static-filled antennas to hyper-tuned arrays scanning 10 billion frequencies. Breakthrough Listen analyzes 1 million stars. The James Webb Telescope peers at exoplanet atmospheres, hunting methane, oxygen, alien pollution. METI wants to shout into the dark, while critics urge silence. If the dark forest is real, every radio burst is a beacon on our backs. We've found planets, thousands. TRAPPIST-1, with 7 Earth-sized worlds. Proxima b, whisper close in galactic terms, but no signals, no lasers, no Dyson spheres. Eve Origin, a stone tossed across eternity. Conclusion. The Fermi paradox isn't about aliens. It's about us. Our future. Our odds. Our arrogance. It whispers that intelligence might be self-extinguishing, that curiosity might be fatal, or that we are rare, special in a way too vast to grasp. We are children staring at a locked door. And the silence behind it could mean anything. No one home, screaming into the static, asking the question we may never answer. Are we the first or the last? Newcomb's paradox, the box that reads your mind. Before you stand two boxes. Box A is transparent. You see the crisp $1,000 bill inside. Its contents are a mystery, either absolutely nothing or $1 million. A being known only as the Predictor has already assessed you. It has studied your brain, your history, every subtle tremor of your decision-making process. It knows, with near-perfect accuracy, what you will choose, and based on that prediction, it has already placed the money in box B, or left it empty, before you even enter the room. Your choice seems simple. Take only the opaque box B, or take both box A and box B. But this is no ordinary gamble. Explanation. The core of Newcomb's paradox, formulated by physicist William Newcomb and popularized by philosopher Robert Nozick in 1969, lies in the brutal tension between two equally logical yet mutually exclusive lines of reasoning. The Predictor's track record is flawless. It has never been wrong. Its infallibility is the bedrock of the paradox. Doctor did then, and thus what is in box B? The one-boxer argument, evidential decision theory. You reason backwards from the outcome. If you choose to take only box B, the Predictor, knowing you are the type of person who would choose only box B, will have already placed the $1,000 inside it. You walk away a millionaire. If you choose to take both boxes, the Predictor, knowing you are the greedy or distrustful type who would take both, will have already left box B empty. You get only the $1,000 from box A. Therefore, choosing only box B causes you to get $1 million because it was predicted you would choose it, while choosing both boxes causes you to get only $1,000 because that choice was predicted. The evidence of the Predictor's past accuracy overwhelmingly supports the strategy of taking only box B. Your choice now provides evidence about what the now. Taking one box strongly correlates with box B containing $1 million. The two-boxer argument, causal decision theory. You reason forwards from the present. The Predictor has already made its prediction and filled or not filled box B. That action is in the past. It is done. Nothing you do now can change the contents of box B. It is fixed. Box A contains $1,000, guaranteed. Therefore, if box B contains $1 million, because the Predictor predicted you take only B, taking both boxes gets you $1 million plus $1,000 equals $1,001,000. If box B is empty, because the Predictor predicted you'd take both, taking both boxes gets you $0 plus $1,000 equals $1,000. Taking only box B gets you either $1,000 or $0, regardless of what's in box B. Taking both boxes nets you exactly $1,000 more than taking only box B. If box B is full, you get 1 million, $1,000 versus $1 million. If box B is empty, you get $1,000 versus $0. The causal reality is that your current choice cannot retroactively alter the predictor's past action. But $1,000 in box A is free money, sitting there for the taking. To leave it behind is irrational. Dominance reasoning dictates taking both boxes. The paradox arises because both arguments seem watertight within their own frameworks. Evidential decision theory, EDT, cares about the evidence your choice provides about the state of the world. What's in box B? It says your choice indicates what the predictor did, so choose the action that indicates the best outcome. One boxing. Causal decision theory, CDT, cares about the direct causal consequences of your action now, since your choice now cannot cause a change in the past. Box B's contents. You should take the action that dominates the outcomes, regardless of the fixed state. 2. Boxing. The predictor's mechanism, the power and terror of the paradox hinge on the predictor's near-perfect accuracy. How could it achieve this? Philosophically, it doesn't matter. Its accuracy is a given. However, contemplating possible mechanisms deepens the unease. Ultimate neuroscience. The predictor scans your brain state with such precision, it simulates your decision process perfectly. In a supercomputer, running it faster than real time to know your choice before you consciously make it. Time travel. The predictor has access to information from the future, seeing your actual choice. Determinism. If the universe is fundamentally deterministic, and the predictor has perfect knowledge of the initial conditions and physical laws, it can compute your inevitable choice. 4. Simulation. You exist inside a simulation run by the predictor. It simply knows your choice because it's running the code. 5. Acausal correlation. Through quantum entanglement, retrocausality, or some unknown physics, the predictor's prediction and your choice are linked without direct causation, creating an infallible correlation. The exact mechanism is less important than the consequence. Your choice is predetermined, or at least perfectly predictable, by factors outside your conscious control at the moment of decision. Implications, or the death or rebirth of free will. Newcomb's paradox is a sledgehammer to naive notions of free will. If the predictor can know your choice before you make it, what does choice even mean? The 2 boxer clings to the feeling of free will. I could have done otherwise, but could they? If the predictor predicted they would take both boxes, was any other action ever truly possible for them in that moment? The paradox forces a confrontation with determinism and compatibilism. Compatibilists argue free will is compatible with predictability. You still made the choice, even if it was predicted. Determinists see the paradox as proof that our choices are the inevitable result of prior causes. Libertarians, free will believers, might reject the premise of a perfect predictor as impossible in a truly indeterministic universe. The paradox doesn't solve free will. It exposes how deeply problematic The concept is, when faced with perfect prediction, AI alignment, the ultimate Newcomb problem. The paradox is terrifyingly relevant to artificial intelligence. Imagine an advanced AI tasked with optimizing human well-being, our utility. This AI is a super predictor. It models human desires, behaviors, and choices with astounding accuracy, potentially far exceeding our own self-understanding. Predicting desires versus satisfying them. Should the AI give us what we say we want, often conflicting and short-sighted, what we would want if we were more rational and informed, potentially overriding our current desires, or what its predictive models show we will ultimately choose or value in the future? This is the essence of the alignment problem. Aligning the AI's goals with genuinely human values, which are fuzzy, evolving, and often contradictory. An AI acting like a one-boxer might deny us choices it predicts would lead to our lesser satisfaction. You think you want that sugary snack, but I know you'll regret it. I'm removing the option. An AI acting like a two-boxer might present all options, respecting our stated choices, even if it predicts we'll choose poorly. Which is truly aligned? Manipulation and paternalism. If the AI predicts that showing you certain information, e.g., about climate change risks, will cause you distress and reduce your short-term utility, should it withhold that information to keep you happy, even if long-term survival depends on action? This mirrors the one-boxer's reliance on the predictor's judgment. An overly paternalistic AI, one-boxing approach could stifle human agency and growth. An overly literal AI, two-boxing approach might allow us to make catastrophic choices it saw coming. The value learning problem. How does the AI learn what we truly value? It must predict our preferences and behaviors. But if it gets this wrong, like a fallible predictor, its optimization could be disastrous. Newcomb's paradox highlights the fundamental difficulty. Optimizing based on predicted choices, one-boxing, versus optimizing based on fixed criteria, regardless of predicted choices, two-boxing, leads to very different outcomes. And neither is clearly superior in all contexts. The illusion of control in human systems. We constantly build systems that attempt prediction and influence, facing many Newcomb dilemmas, economics and policy. Central banks predict inflation and raise interest rates to prevent it. Is this causing the predicted outcome, like the one boxer's choice leading to the 1 million, or merely reacting to fixed conditions? The two-boxer taking the available 1,000. Does predicting a stock market crash trigger a sell-off that causes it? Policymakers struggle between acting on predictions, one-boxing, versus providing options and letting people choose, two-boxing. Algorithmic feeds and filter bubbles. Social media platforms are predictors. They predict what content will keep you engaged, showing you only that content. One-boxing strategy maximizes your engagement now, but potentially traps you in a bubble, limiting growth and perspective. Showing you a wider range, Two-boxing strategy respects your autonomy but might reduce engagement metrics. Paradox forces a question. Are platforms optimizing for what they predict you'll click now? Or for what might lead to your long-term well-being, which they cannot perfectly predict or define. Medical diagnostics and treatment. An AI predicts a high probability of a patient developing a severe disease. Does the doctor aggressively treat now based on the prediction, one boxing, potentially causing side effects for a disease that might not manifest? Or do they wait and monitor, respecting patient autonomy, but risking worse outcomes if the prediction is accurate? Two-boxing? The patient's choice is influenced by the prediction itself. Autonomous vehicles. A self-driving car predicts a pedestrian might suddenly step into the road. Does it swerve preemptively, one boxing, acting on the prediction, potentially causing a different accident, or maintain course until the pedestrian actually steps out, two boxing, reacting only to causal reality, risking a collision? The car's prediction influences its action, which in turn influences the outcome. The psychological trap. Humans are notoriously bad intuitive statisticians. We often fall prey to the two boxers' allure of the guaranteed $1,000, ignoring the overwhelming evidence provided by the predictor's accuracy. This mirrors real-life situations where we prioritize immediate, certain gains over larger probabilistic rewards. Loss aversion, hyperbolic discounting. Conversely, the one-boxer strategy requires immense trust in an entity whose workings are opaque, a leap of faith many find difficult. The paradox exposes our cognitive biases in high-stakes decision-making, under uncertainty and prediction. The unresolvable core. Newcomb's paradox has no universally agreed-upon solution. Brilliant philosophers and decision theorists line up on both sides. Its power lies precisely in this unresolvability. It forces us to examine the foundations of how we make decisions. Do we value causality or evidence more? CDT versus EDT. Do we believe in true free will or accept determinism/predictability? How much trust do we place in predictors, experts, models, AIs, versus our own perceived agency? When does acting on a prediction become a self-fulfilling prophecy? What is the relationship between a choice, the prediction of that choice, and the outcome? It reveals that rationality itself might be a fractured concept, dependent on underlying assumptions about time, causality, and the nature of the self. The predictor doesn't just read your mind. It forces you to question whether your mind is truly yours to command, or if the gears of decision were set in motion long before you perceived the choice. The opaque box doesn't just contain money or emptiness. It contains a reflection of our deepest uncertainties about agency, fate, and the terrifying power of being known. But I'm gonna cheat through this one, 'cause I guess you're already asleep. Nighty-night, buddy.